Welcome to the supernatural tale of a stranger's grace. Written by Harmony Taylor, presented by Dawnspire Digital. Each week we uncover mysteries where we'll meet God. May you enjoy this week's episode.
Chapter 5. Jez's words, "Even in the darkest of storms, hope remains," echoed in Eleanor's mind, flickering like candlelight in the quiet corners of her thoughts. The rain had stopped, leaving behind a city washed clean, the air fragrant with wet earth and jasmine. It felt like a symphony of renewal after the deluge. But Jez's presence lingered, the quiet strength in his eyes, the warmth of his smile as he held the umbrella over her, shielding her from the storm. That comfort left a soft glow in the coolness of the evening. She recalled his words about miracles and unexplainable grace, like sunlight breaking through thick clouds. The weight of her past threatened to choke her, but something within stirred, a fragile bird fluttering to life in her chest. Maybe there was still hope for her. Despite all she had done, all those years lost in guilt and shame, maybe she could find a way back. Taking a deep breath, a surge of determination coursed through her. She found herself wanting to throw open her apartment windows, to let fresh air sweep through, carrying away the dust of her old life. She would not be a prisoner of her past any longer. Fighting for forgiveness, for peace, and believing in miracles felt possible. Hope bloomed in her chest, vibrant and bold, like flowers pushing through cracks in the pavement. With light steps, she made her way to the bathroom. Her reflection in the hallway mirror no longer felt like a stranger. A woman on the cusp of change stared back at her, eyes reflecting a flicker of determination. As she opened the medicine cabinet, her gaze fell upon the orange pill bottle. It was no longer a comfort, but a shackle, a reminder of the darkness she aimed to escape. "No more," she whispered, a silent prayer for strength. She emptied the remaining pills into the toilet and flushed, watching as they swirled down the drain, a kaleidoscope of white against blue porcelain. That act symbolized letting go, embracing the unknown path ahead. Thursday evening arrived, casting elongated shadows across the city as Eleanor returned to the support group. Memories of shared stories and compassionate faces sparked a flicker of anticipation, replacing the anxiety knotting in her stomach. She had something to share now, a burden she longed to release. Entering the meeting room, Eleanor felt the familiar buzz of conversation wrap around her like a comforting embrace. Smiles greeted her, each one a small beacon of warmth that soothed her wounded spirit. She took her usual seat, her hands resting loosely in her lap, but her heart raced with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "Eleanor, it's so good to see you," Olivia said, her voice brightening the room. "How have you been holding up?" Eleanor offered a small smile, grateful for the concern. "I'm managing. Some days are better than others," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of her recent struggles hung heavily on her shoulders, but she was determined to share her journey. As others began to share their stories, Eleanor listened intently, feeling the shared humanity in each voice. "I had a rough week," Mark said, his brow furrowed. "I almost slipped back into old habits." Olivia pumped her fist a little into the air. "You're not alone, Mark. We're all fighting our own battles," she said, her voice steadying as she spoke. "But with God's help, we can find our way back." The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of her words settling in. Eleanor felt the Holy Spirit stirring within her, a gentle reminder that healing was possible, that hope for complete forgiveness was alive. When it was finally her turn, hesitation gripped her. "I can't do this," she thought. "They will think me a monster." The weight of her secret threatened to suffocate her. Standing, her breath hitched. Then, remembering Jez's words about hope and forgiveness, she steadied herself. "I don't have to tell them all of my secrets. Not today. My name is Eleanor, you can call me Ellie," she began. "And I'm an addict." The words hung in the air, heavy yet freeing. She shared her story. Our mistake, the guilt, the dependence on pills. A wave of release surged through her, allowing light to flood into the darkest corners of her soul. The group's compassion enveloped her like an embrace. As she finished, a profound stillness settled in the room. "You are not alone," Olivia said, soft yet firm. "Forgiving yourself is an important step." But there was one more secret, the reason that drove her toward the pills. Could she tell them? "Thank you for your words," Eleanor said instead. She left the church that night with a heavier guilt. The weight of her secret was crushing. She had said the right words at the meeting, but it wasn't enough. The autumn air, cool against her skin, carried scents of leaves and distant bonfires, a tapestry of change. As she approached the corner of her street, she paused, feeling a serene benediction settle over her, but it failed to soothe her soul. The streetlights glowed warmly on the wet pavement, illuminating the comforting familiarity of her surroundings. "God, is that you?" she whispered, glancing up at the treetops. "I am so unworthy. Why would you want me? Love me?" The wind picked up, causing her hair to whip around her face. She pressed her lips together in a small smile. "I suppose you do regardless." Stepping inside her building, a restlessness tugged at her spirit. Eleanor walked to the elevator, her thoughts spiraling. "I need to share this with the others next time," she whispered. As she waited for the doors to close, an idea took root. What if she hosted a meeting? What if she created a space for others like her, for those seeking connection, healing, and hope? But first, she had to confess her darkest secret. I must lead by example. The elevator doors slid open, returning her to the comfort of her apartment, but the idea stuck. Could she really take on such a task? "No, this can't just be a passing thought," she murmured, pacing around her living room. "Perhaps if I tell others why I took the pills, this is it." With newfound resolve, she grabbed a notepad and scribbled, "Support group," her handwriting bold, a declaration. A soft knock at the door startled her. Heart racing, she called out, "Who is it?" "It's Mrs. Goldblum from down the hall," the elderly voice sang. "Can I come in?" Eleanor swallowed. "Sure, of course." She opened the door for her neighbor. Mrs. Goldblum shuffled in, a plate of warm cookies in her hands, her eyes sparkling with kindness. "I saw you earlier. I thought you could use a pick-me-up." She set the plate down, her face brimming with expectation. Eleanor smiled weakly. "Thank you so much." "I've seen you at the meetings," Mrs. Goldblum said softly. "You carry a heavy load, and I sense you haven't shared everything. I thought a little sweetness might help." Eleanor's heart pounded. "Yes, I suppose you're right." "There is no shame in Jesus, Ellie." Eleanor hesitated, then decided to reach out. "Actually, I've been thinking of starting my own support group, here in this building." Mrs. Goldblum's eyes widened. "What a wonderful idea. You've already begun helping others with your story tonight. Just think how many more you could reach." "Even if I haven't told my full story?" Eleanor asked, her fingers twitching. "Yes, even then. Pray on it, and see if God confirms it to you." Eleanor's palms felt clammy. But what if it fails? What if no one shows up? Mrs. Goldblum leaned closer, her expression earnest. "Every small step counts. You have a voice, and it's beautiful. The world needs to hear you." Suddenly, Eleanor felt a surge of strength. "You're right," she breathed. "Of course I am," Mrs. Goldblum chuckled. "Now let's talk about what you'll share with them over these cookies." Eleanor picked up a cookie, then put it back down. "You'll think me a monster," she said, her voice trembling. "There's nothing God cannot forgive, and nothing you could say that will shake me." Eleanor swallowed hard. I was out drinking with John. I was driving. It wasn't dark yet." Mrs. Goldblum's smile faded, but she said nothing. "I drove over a little
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. You can read the entire book available on Amazon. Get more content by visiting dawnspiredigital.com. I'll see you next time. May God's peace be with you.